talking with Hey Friend Hey a little bit later on in tonight's show. You know, it's the first of the month. But this next guest, first of all, I'm so excited that he's here. I was first introduced to him on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. It's the best way to start your Sunday. If you have nothing else to do on a Sunday morning, turn on Super Soul Sunday on OWN TV. And I was introduced to our next guest via the Super Soul Sunday, and I was just so enthralled with his purpose that I said, you know what, we have to get him here on the show. And we've been trying for weeks to get him here, and finally, Panache Desai is here. Please welcome him to the show. Panache, what's going on?
Hey, brother, it's great to be here, and it's great to be here with all the listening audience. Big shout out to everyone across the airwaves and through the Twitterverse and everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about the internet, and I've loved it since we started the show. And you know, the internet is the heart of everything that we do, and it's so important not only to use this platform, you know, to have a laugh or two and whatnot, but also to talk about some of the things that we're going to talk about with you. How did you get started in this whole, you know, because I like to call you a spiritual thinker, but how would you describe what you do?
For me, I was born into a spiritual family in London, and they were a group of individuals who chanted, they meditated, and in India we have this kind of basic understanding everything is vibration and frequency. Mm-hmm. And so growing up in my house, I had pictures of everybody, Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, I mean, you name it, we had all of our bases covered. It's great for school holidays and vacations. You can claim a religion when you're a Hindu. So at this point, I grew up in this environment and just this complete respect for God and this devotion. And for me, you could feel it vibrationally. You could feel energy. It's like when you walk in a room and you know someone's had an argument. You can feel that. You know, when you meet someone, you can feel their energy. You can start feeling their vibe. When you listen to a song, you can feel the intent of the music of the song. Like there are certain producers that put out music and you can feel what the music is about. And so for me, I grew up in this environment that was spiritual, but the weird part was that everything that was happening to me had no context for it. So I just strange, man. Like seriously, I just wanted to watch TV and like Knight Rider and just be normal, right? And not be in a spiritual capacity. You know, it's like everyone just leave me alone. Go pick someone that's older, you know, that lives in an ashram somewhere, and you know, I am not that person. And so subsequently, you know, when you're Indian, you tend to watch Bollywood movies and you go kick it with spiritual people, and everyone that we go and see basically say we've been waiting for you, which further just compound the weirdness. And then I was having all these weird. I could sit next to people. Remember, I sit next to people. They start crying. They start feeling their anger. They start feeling their sadness. And then literally, there come a point when they would just start sparkling, and that's how I would describe it as a child. Start sparkling, and then they'd walk off like nothing happened. And so it was really ingrained in me from a age. My grandmother was really the pivotal piece for me because she's a very devotional woman. She prayed every day. And that to running away from spirituality, I had a radio station like yours, with pirate radio stations in London. Mm-hmm. We had our own kind of counterculture where we were making like jungle and hip hop, and we were making two-step drum, and we were making like we call it garage in London. So we had all these different musical movements that were coming up because we didn't listen to mainstream radio. We had our own sound. And so I started putting on raves and emceeing at raves and events and the whole thing. And I realized that it wasn't in spirituality and it wasn't in that at some point I had to start authentically discovering who I was, not what I was being told. I realized that what I was being told wasn't really helping me, that I needed to start being who I authentically was created to be. And in the Oprah interview, I said, you know, there's a point in our life where finally we become good enough for ourselves. And I reached that point when I was about 21 and just sat there. A month ago where I was in university, I was doing a degree I didn't do. I just felt like I was living everyone else's version of my life. And went away, took 6 months, just kind of had a retreat and meditated and just ate clean and just lived this kind of really basic life, and was confronted by everything that, you know, I was obviously trying to run away from. I hadn't dealt with anger, rage, sadness, all these different parts of our humanity. And through my willingness to just sit with them one by one, I began to just experience the underlying energy behind it all. So, quick energy 101 is our soul exists on the most subtle level of energy. We all have one, but very few people will consciously connect with their spirit on a regular basis. The layer above that is the emotional layer. Then the layer above that is the unconscious mind. Then you've got the conscious mind, then you've got the physical body. And so for me, what was happening was this greater vibrational transformation, that all this emotional content, we're told so often, right, we're not supposed to be angry. It's not socially acceptable. Crying is a weakness and all these things. So we end up stuck in all this emotion. And emotion is energy in motion. And then we lead our natural ability to flower inside of us and to inform our life. So we've got this infinite potential, but what happens is all of this emotional content kind of covers over the spirit. And it's like, having blackout shades or blinds. It limits the amount of light that comes through. And so I sat there for 6 months, went through all of that, got to a point where I went home, I wasn't the same person, and this kind of just evolution just kept going on. And I kept meeting people, and I'm like, it's not me, sorry, you're getting some wrong information, you're on the wrong waveband. And about 23 years old, I was very skeptical too. About 23 years old, I had a direct experience of the divine. It's just this infinite ocean of energy. And, and as I tried to, when Oprah asked me what is God, I couldn't answer that question because any language that we ascribe to that diminishes what it is. It was just the most profound. Yeah, it was just the most profound experience, Ken. And the bottom line is, we are all that. Every single one of you right now that's listening to this is that. The way you are right now, regardless of what you've been told and how you perceive yourself. And that's where I came to. And in addition to that, I began to allow that acceptance and that love that is that divine to just kind of start flowing through me. And then consciously, then everything began to make sense. Why everything was happening to me. Why people sit next to me and they go experiences. And subsequently then, the word was out, and it was too late, and my peace and serenity was kind of beaten on because people were just showing up from everywhere. I need money, and my health is out of whack, and the whole thing. And they just come to me, and their life would improve. And at start, I just created a formal environment through which I could share, a formal medium. So that's kind of how I got started in a nutshell.
Wow. I mean, and it's so funny, Panache, because although a lot of people listen to your story and you're like, okay, how did this spiritual thinker get started? But a lot of things that you mentioned, a lot of people go through. The whole struggle of trying to figure out who they really are. And why do you think that you got to that place at that point in your life, as compared to there are certain people that are in their 40s that still don't understand that they're important, that they do have a place here in the world.
I think it just got to a point where I just stopped believing that, and the hype is what everyone else was saying, that we're not supposed to feel angry, and we're not supposed to be sad, and, we're supposed to live a certain way or conform to what is normal. Mm-hmm. For me, conformity is death. The very second you start maintaining the status quo, you're existing, even living, right? And so for me, I always had this kind of counterculture kind of aspect about me where I challenged everything. I never took anything on face value. And plus, I could also feel the energy of everything. I knew what was going on. And so for me, I was very inquisitive, and I had this greater yearning. But also, I'm a person where if I don't authentically experience something, I can't talk about it. I can't just sit there, reciting off wisdom from some book that I've read, or, talking, third hand about something from some teaching from 5,000 years ago. That's not me. So I had to have that experience. I had to go through all these different experiences. And in that same way, just every single one of you is going through your life's experiences. And the key is to accept yourself. It's not broken. You don't need healing. You don't need fixing. You're not here to conform to some mass market media version of who you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be who you are in all of your glory. And that includes your sadness, your anger, it includes all of it. It includes your ego. It includes everything that you're so diligently trying to get rid of. Because all of that actually is the blessing. Mm-hmm. And so I personally went from judging my humanity, making my humanity less than, needing to overcome it, to just finally accepting it. I couldn't run anymore. I tried, it's like it wasn't meditation. It wasn't in spirituality. It wasn't that. And it also wasn't in, being a rock star and doing raves with thousands of people. It wasn't that either. Mm-hmm. Concepts, all of these were, different ends of the spectrum. Eventually, I had to sit still and feel and deal.
If you guys just tuned in, I'm here with spiritual thinker, fellow human being, sharing his special gift. Panache Desai is here on KEMPIRE Radio CKIF. Panache, again, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I have to play devil's advocate for those that are listening, because there are those that are going to say, you know what, that's great to hear all of that, But I've spent years, I've had parents, I've had people tell me that I'm not good enough. What
Yeah.
would you say to those people that are trying to get over years and years of conditioning?
Well, that in and of itself is the issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people come to see me and they say, what should I do with my children? I said, please don't do anything with your children. Just leave your kids alone. I said, all of you are here in this workshop because your parents did something with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get over it? We don't get over it on a mental level. That doesn't work, right? This whole shifting your thoughts, shifting your reality conversation, it's too superficial. It doesn't work. What we need to do is start dealing with that underlying emotional content and just start being available for it. And how we do that is through simply accepting ourselves where we are, right? When you get angry, instead of to alter the what's going on, or trying to avoid it, or trying to talk away out of it, or bounce way around it, the key is to just relax your body, just to completely become aware of your breath, that you are breathing. And the more you just become aware of what is happening, and right in the awareness of your breath as it is happening, you will be able to notice that it's almost like this inner alchemy starts to happen. Will start to wash through you. When I first went on the street, it was awful because it's quiet and you can't. There's no radio, there's no escape, right? There's no TV, right? And then plus there's an endless supply of tofu, right? And beans. Just imagine the gas in the meditation room. It's not quiet, trust me, right? So here I am, right? And I'm dealing with all these different parts of myself, but I have to sit still and really available for that, paying attention. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know that it does end. I'm still embracing everything. I'm still living in the fullness of who I am. I'm still in that space. Mm-hmm. So, that's never ending. We're human. Mm-hmm. What I've discovered is that more peace with our humanity, the easier for us to navigate life. And then also that infinite part, that brilliant part of us begins going through us.
Panache, when we were off air, I was asking you, because we put people that are spiritual thinkers on a pedestal, and I was like, wait, you were at Hot 97 Summer Jam?
Yeah, man.
What were you doing there?
That's my friend Jojo. Jojo and Kevin Nolan, together for a long time, and Jojo said, "Oh, what are you doing when it comes to Summer Jam?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And actually, Alex Burke was there, so Alex and me and my wife Jan, and I love music. Music for me, I love the culture. Mm-hmm. I'm all about advancing the culture. Yeah. Personally, I grew up in a neighborhood where, there were a lot of options, really. And when you're an immigrant family, a first-generation immigrant family, regardless of where you land, my grandfather came to London with £5 in his pocket. So basically, we had, multiple family members all living in one room, right? So I've seen that. And so for me, it's about taking all of this energy, taking who we are, taking the art form and the music, and transforming the culture, so that we have a more elevated expression of who we are. So we stop buying into these stupid media stereotypes of how we're supposed to live our lives and how we're supposed to show up and what it's supposed to be like to be a particular minority group. So we start transcending all of those superficial differences, and we start living in the fullness of who we were created to be. And so that's what's going on. That's what's going on. The energy's evolving, the art form's evolving, the genre's evolving. So it was great to be at Summer Jam. And those people, it was crazy.
Oh, definitely. I can only imagine you talked about, when you're in the presence of people, you can feel their energy. Being in a place like that with so much energy going on, how does that feel? And is that something special to you, or can we all tap into that sensing energy?
Well, at first, it was a little overwhelming at first because, you're not only you're feeling everything in everybody, you also know everything about everybody. I mean, it was just bizarre.
Wow.
And I had to get to a point where I had to kind of desensitize myself a little bit. So I remember, because I lived in London, so at that point I'd go into the most populated area in London. Or, when I moved to New York, I'd do that in New York, right? And I'd just stand there, like in Times Square, and I would stand there. And believe me, every part of me wanted to run away, wanted to not be there, but you just have to desensitize yourself. Mm-hmm. And the more you do that, the more you feel everything. So, yes, everyone has the capacity, A. Mm-hmm. B, we're all doing it, we're just not aware of it. Wow. And C, we're all going to come into the conscious recognition of this. And ultimately, the more we're at peace with ourselves, the more we're taking care of our anger, our sadness, our fear, the more we're basically, keeping it 100 with ourselves and being authentic, the easier a time we're going to have, navigating life. And again, the benefit is that greater infinite part of you, takes off. That greater infinite expression, literally, Kemp, to the point where people that you want to meet call you and say, hey, let's do something.
And that's part of the reason why I said it was so important to have you here, because I'm a strong believer in people's energy. And Oprah says a lot of the times, be responsible for the energy that you bring to a room.
Yeah.
And I always think about that when I'm coming into a room, because there are because we're human and we have our moments when we're just upset or something really bothers us. But you don't realize by bringing that energy into the room how it affects everyone around you.
That's right. Our vibrational, our personal vibration is what the universe responds to. So the highest rate of personal vibration is love.
Wow.
And it's not love of someone else or something else. It's love of self. And the more we begin to love ourselves and bring that energy to all that we are, the more then we can bring it to God. And then, then we can use music and film and all these different mediums to then be catalysts for that energy and to perpetuate that energy and to evolve everyone, who's in there out of fear, lack, and scarcity into abundance, in health and vitality. And so that's how we become responsible for it, by first of all recognizing that we are an energy. Most people don't even think of themselves in that way. They think of themselves as flesh and bone and the contents of their mind, but so much more than that. It's like that scene in Matrix, with Morpheus. Let me show you. Show you what's really going on here. Come to the back of the shop. Let me show you what's really going on. And that's what it is. And it's that awareness. We're energy. Everything's an energy, and therefore the vibrational resonance in body is met by the universe. So at that point, the more in alignment we are, the more that abundance comes to us, the more the heart vitality is there, the more every single aspect of life begins to flourish and flower. That is how we go from ordinary to extraordinary.
Wow, Panache Desai. Panache, a big thing that I've been exploring in my mind and thinking about heavily, because I call you an energy expert, and which is one of many titles. But when people die, what are your thoughts on death? Because I know a lot of people struggle when someone that they love deeply passes away. But
go ahead. That's the only answer I can give you, honestly, is I don't know, because I haven't died yet. Yeah. So I can't comment on that. But what I can share with you is what I experienced as what we call the divine. Okay, because my sense is that's where we all end up. So this divine or God or whatever name you want to use, source, right? Whatever name you want to use, it's infinite. Okay, and basically we're all relating to this dimension in whatever way that we can, and we use different names and different titles. Really, it's just this infinite love. I mean, it's just incredible. And what happens is, when we transition, we go back to this place of just complete acceptance and love. And I always say to people that ask this question, it's that we often wait or wonder what happens when we die, while all the while we're missing the point that we're alive and we can have that now. And that actually, our loved ones that have transitioned, or our loved ones that have been around a lot, very gifted kind of mediums and psychic people that work in that realm. That's really not my area of expertise, but they work in that realm, and I've seen it. Every single time. Like, if you've lost someone that's very dear to you, or you love somebody, you better believe that person is rooting for you to fully accept and love yourself, because they've seen the other side. They know what's going on the other side. And the other side is all acceptance. It's nothing like being told here. It's not about being afraid of somebody because the different race or a different gender, or they express their sex differently. It's not about any of that. It's just about love. It's about pure love, and that to me is what. Regardless if you lost someone, just know that they've gone to that infinite expanse of love. But that potential is available to us now.
Definitely. I think that's so important that people understand that the potential is available to us now, and really, would you say it's a choice to tap into that?
Can you say that again?
Would you say that it's a choice to tap into that potential that we all have?
People are going to throw it one level further and say everyone's already tapped into it. They're just not aware of the fact that they're already tapped into it. And that's the thing, right? For me, when I see people, they're not broken. They don't need fixing. They don't need healing. They just need reminding. Guess what? You're awesome. You're absolutely fantastic. And all this stuff that you're trying to get outside of you, actually, it's already within you. And if you could just chill out and kick it for 5 minutes and just be aware of your breath and calm down, you'd start to access what every great innovator, thinker, creative person, everyone that we look up to or we admire in some way, tapped into this same principle. But they realized that it wasn't outside of them. They realized that it was inside of them. That it's our internal relationship that's important. And the more we do that, the more then everything else just begins to accelerate. Literally, like people phone you, things happen. Right? Everyone that you want to meet, literally call. I mean, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing what happens.
It's almost like a shift in your energy space.
Yeah, it's a shift in your awareness, but it's also just completely seeing clearly who you are. You know, it's like when most people look in the mirror, like, oh, you know, I don't like my hips right now. You know, I don't like, you know, I don't like my butt sticking there. You know, everyone's latching on to the superficial, but they're missing this. That when this being right now is animating all of life, by the way, and providing you the oxygen that you need to breathe, when that being actually made everything, let's just assume that it knew what it was doing. And if it knew what it was doing, then let's just assume that it didn't make a mistake in making you. And if it didn't make a mistake in making you, then maybe instead of trying to be somebody other than you, why don't we spend some time to actually start to embrace who you are and uncover the greater miracle that you are as you are right now?
Panache, I know there are a lot of people. If you guys just tuned in here with Panache Desai for the very first time here on TKI, I think Campus Friday. Don't forget, if you're on your way out and you want to take us on the go, download the free Live 365 app. Add KEMPIRE Radio to your playlist. Panache, we're not going to let you go just yet. Just a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you know, I have to play devil's advocate, and those that are listening, and people have been through some things, Panache. You and I both know people go through things. People are, you know, molested as children or raped. You know, they go through some things. What can people actively do so they can really start to connect, to know that they're not broken, that healing is already there?
You know, those people that have gone through those things are so courageous, first of all. So courageous. Secondly, by virtue of the fact that you've through those things, you can break the cycle of that event ever happening again. And how you do that is by, first of all, coming into the acceptance of yourself. Now, that isn't about a right or a wrong. It's not about a moral evaluation of what happened. It's about being with the impact of what happened in yourself and in your life. And I've met people who've gone through things that, you know, would blow your mind. That in 2013, these things are still happening on planet Earth, right? But they are. And what I've discovered is that the more people come into embracing it, whatever that is, the accepting of it, whatever that is, the underlying energy, the fear, the sadness, the anger, from the original incident, the trauma, begins to wash through. And that's vibrational transformation. And at that point, Ken, you know, the story collapses. It's like literally within an hour or 30 minutes or even 5 minutes sometimes, people can come in with something that is so huge. You're like, how on earth are we ever going to deal with that? And literally within 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, it's handled. And then it's like it never happened. Why? Because again, it's the energetic layer. It's that emotional layer, right? It's that emotional layer that's feeding every other layer. And so when we actually deal with the emotional, it's like Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body, right? It's like if we actually address the pain body, then everything else just deconstructs. And that's where it's been so cool, because we're literally bypassing everything. We're just dealing with the root cause of it. We're dealing with the root source of it, which is the underlying emotional trauma that wasn't fully experienced. And we're just lovingly creating the space for it, and we're just sharing the energy of love around it, and it just starts to transform.
I could talk about this all night. So that only just means you have to come back, so we can tackle other areas, because I mean, if we could save the world in one night, we definitely would try. But before we let you go, I think it's so important, the work that you're doing now. And we always have a question of the night, and we learn things every day, and that's the part about being alive. So our question of the night is, what have you learned in the last month? So what has Panache learned in the last month?
Well, let's just say that Oprah has a way of taking you out of one universe and putting you in another.
Tell me about it.
And it is the most surreal experience ever. And for me personally, being picked up from where I was, being put in this whole other universe, it's brought its own, awakening with it. It's brought a whole other layer of stuff that I have yet to embrace about myself. And it's been phenomenal, because there are moments where it's lonely, there are moments where it's exciting and just incredible, and there are moments where I'm just currently present to whatever sadness or whatever fear or insecurity I have around everything that's happening. Because seemingly, it's like you just get picked up and you just get dropped in another universe, and it's like, oh, there you go. And then you're like, yeah. But what people don't realize is that there's an internal adjustment that needs to happen to be able to digest what just occurred and to receive it. And you'll see it a lot. Right? People who sign record deals or book deals or people in the limelight, that point from where they sign the deal to that point where that work is the most pivotal point in their evolution and their journey. Because that is the point where everything inside of them that they have to go through to step out into the world and complete expression into who they're being called into, everything comes up that you have to embrace and accept it yourself. So let me tell you that the last has been nothing short of being on a roller coaster, and I love my family, and I completely celebrate them for their patience, because there's nothing like Oprah Winfrey to take you from, put you in another universe and say, okay, now play here. You've been playing here. I see you. You've been playing here. I see you. Caught my attention. Now play here. And it's boom. And there's no manual. Oprah, you need to write a manual. It would help. What to deal with after the Oprah, experience. That would be great. There wasn't a manual. There's nothing. You just have to be available, pay attention, and be aware, and literally deal with every single step of the evolution to meet that new place that she puts you in. It's mind-blowing and extraordinary and vulnerable and raw and everything all wrapped up in one experience.
What do cause your work is so vast and such a large undertaking, but what is your immediate goals for the work that you do?
Well, I started having insights around what was going to happen, and just like going to Summer Jam for me was great, because where I was standing was right next to the stage, so I'm standing next to the stage looking out at everybody. So my view was being in a stadium, and that was great for me, and that's what I took away from that. And the music was great and all that, and it was nice hanging out with Mariah and Miguel and all those people, but the main part for me was being in a stadium. We know that we're going to be in stadiums. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. I know that music is a part of it. I know that everyone that's listening is being called to this for a reason. I know that there's millions of people, and I don't know if it looks like a TV show. I don't know if it's like stadiums. I don't know. We're just scratching the surface. And I literally think we're going to be in stadiums around the world, just being in this energy, just being in this space of love and acceptance. And we're going to start kind of, doing that in different continents and different countries, so that we can start informing everything and everyone around us that's really who we are. I think everyone that's listening to this and everything that's going to happen is part in this huge global shift. So for me personally, I'm just excited, I'm open, I'm excited. I know we're going to be in. I know music is a huge part of it. I'm already working on that front, and and there's all kinds of creative stuff that's going on right now. So stay tuned. It's going to be.
And you're doing a few dates here in the States. For more information on that, we're going to be posting links to PanacheDesai.com. And promoting it throughout the night. I think it's a wonderful life work that you're doing, and I look forward to you coming back so we can talk about other areas of what you're doing, because I think this is an ongoing conversation that needs to be had.
Oh, I'd love that. I appreciate you having me on, and just just expanding the culture and the genre, so
Definitely.
we can move all this stuff that we're kind of penned in with, and really just bust out and break loose and just be fully who we are. So thank you.
No, thank you. Panache Desai, Remember, guys, you can get more information on Panache at panachedesai.com. We're going to be posting everything on our Facebook and our Twitter and throughout tonight's show. We're talking about energy and what have you learned in the last month. Not your life, but in the last month. Because we're always learning something, right, Panache?
That's right. Never ending. In a spiral.
Most definitely. Thanks, Panache, for being here on the show. We're going to jump into some more music, guys. We're live until 12 a.m. Eastern. You're listening to TKIF here on KEMPIRERadio.com.